Dipty's here with the papers. Let's have a look. You're starting in the UK, aren't you? Millions of people voting today in the general election.
That's right. And the British papers are ganging up on Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader and candidate. That's what the Guardian newspaper says. The Guardian, bearing in mind itself, has endorsed Corbyn as its candidate. The Mirror also has endorsed Corbyn on its front page. Well, let's be honest, they've probably deliberately chosen that unflattering picture of Theresa May there with the headline, bold headline, lies, damned lies, and Theresa May, very angry front page from the Mirror, from the Daily Mirror, also an angry front page from the Sun with a terrible pun, it must be said, don't chuck Britain into the Cor-bin. So you're seeing that the Sun has endorsed Theresa May. In its editorial, the paper says Corbyn will reverse years of economic growth in the country. He'll declare war on business and hike taxes to fund his socialist promises. That's a warning from the tabloid The Sun.
Going to go to the Daily Mail now, staying true to its penchant for hyperbole, isn't it?
That's right. The Daily Mail, another tabloid, has also endorsed Theresa May. It calls on readers to reignite British spirit and vote May because otherwise, I quote, Corbyn will tax your work, your garden, your home and your inheritance. Also endorsing the Tories, Stuart, the Financial Times, Daily Telegraph and the Times newspaper. Even the Independent, which is more of a left-leaning paper, seems pessimistic about Corbyn's chances. Final reckoning, it says on its front page, May on track for a sweeping win. The difference, what's interesting is The Guardian has also penned an editorial saying the difference this time with this election is that Brexit is not a looming issue anymore. This is something that's sort of been done and dusted, and whoever the next leader will be, the next leader will not be governing the UK with the shadow of Brexit hanging over it. So the outcome really will affect the future of the bloc, really looking beyond Brexit, and the next leader will need a, quote, cool head to navigate through the other challenges of the upcoming months and years.
OK, all the results, of course, on this programme this time tomorrow. Now, there's a lot of analysis as well on Iran in the papers, as well after the first ever terrorist attack committed by the Islamic State group yesterday in Tehran.
Well, we're looking at the front page of the Tehran Times, which says terrorism targets sole democracy in the region, maybe a questionable headline for some, but that's what the Iranian paper says. Anyway, really echoing the element of surprise and shock that came after this deadly terrorist attack. L'Orient Le Jour, which is a Lebanese French language paper, says on its front page figuratively that the Iranian embankment has given in. The IS group has struck Tehran's heart. Really, this image that Iran was a fortress before, and the jihadists have somehow managed to penetrate through that fortress. And there's a lot of analysis as well, Stuart, particularly from the Independent, the British Daily, which has a really interesting article reminding us that the last attack in Iran was 7 years ago, at least on an Iranian city. So this is a total surprise, but the paper says it kind of makes sense because the Islamic State group, which represent the Salafist Sunnis, regard Shia Iran as a nation of heretics. Iran is also fighting against the IS group, well, indirectly by supporting Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria. But the British paper says Iran has other enemies as well, notably Saudi Arabia and its alliance, which has just cut off ties with Qatar, in part for being conciliatory towards Iran. So not a surprise then that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, initially restrained in its response, is now blaming the Saudis for that terror attack yesterday.
Big news stories of the day. This is the third one. Of course, it's the former FBI chief, James Comey, going to read out his statement to Congress today and give his testimony, revealing his concerns about his former boss, Donald Trump.
That's right. He's reading that full statement to Congress this Thursday about his time as FBI chief. But that statement has already been published online by numerous media outlets. And we learned some very interesting things. First of all, that Comey really confirms that Trump put pressure on him to shut down an investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn and his links to Russia. There are also clearly two issues at stake for Congress to to work through whether Trump demanded loyalty from Comey in exchange for not being investigated by him. And also, the panel will need to determine whether Comey was fired because of his refusal to drop the investigation against Trump. Now, for the USA Today editors, Comey's statements make it clear that Trump was acting like a mob boss rather than a president, painting a picture of a president acting wholly inappropriately. While from the Washington Post, a conservative Republican has penned an article. Jack Kingston says if Comey thought Trump was acting inappropriately, well, why didn't he do something about it? Kingston calls Comey a disgruntled ex-employee and says that's how he should be seen by Senate.
OK, well, that's the former current president. Now let's talk about the former president then, Barack Obama. Seen dining with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. It has Twitter hearts a-flutter, doesn't it?
How could it not, with a picture like that of the two men embracing, Stuart?
Oh, how sweet.
Time magazine says the two men had a man date this week in Montreal, officially to discuss their shared commitment to developing the next generation of leaders. But nobody really has given much importance to that. If you see tweets like these pictures that have become memes on the right there, find someone who looks at you the way Trudeau looks at Obama. There's one man missing, Obama's BFF and former VP, and a meme in himself, Joe Biden, who's looking on there rather wistfully from the outside.
Oh, very, very sweet. Thanks a lot, Tipsy, with the papers on France 24. Next half hour of the programme, we're going to go back to the UK election, and we're going to be heading to the north of the UK in focus, traditional heartland opposition Labour territory, to find out how the party is trying to hang on to its support as Conservative candidates try to wrest it away.